The bank robbery that no one knows how happened. Some crimes leave behind a trail of clues, breadcrumbs that led investigators to their inevitable resolution. Others, however, seem to defy logic itself, leaving authorities grasping at air. Few heists in history have baffled experts quite like the Banco Central robbery in Fortaleza, Brazil, a crime so meticulously executed, so flawlessly orchestrated, that even today, no one can fully explain exactly how it happened. A bank robbery without violence, without alarms, without any clear trace of the perpetrators in the act. This is the story of the bank robbery that no one knows how happened. A heist unlike any other. The crime itself unfolded between the months of March and August 2005, but the world only discovered what had happened on the morning of Monday, August 8th. Employees of the Banco Central in Fortaleza, a bustling city in northeastern Brazil, arrived at work only to be met with an unthinkable sight. Piles of dirt, scattered money, and an empty vault. Over 160 million Brazilian reals, equivalent to around $70 million at the time, had vanished. It was one of the largest bank robberies in history, and yet, the way it was carried out made it even more astonishing. No alarms had been triggered. No forced entry was detected. There was no sign of struggle or violence. In fact, when investigators began piecing together the timeline, it became evident that the robbery had taken place while the city was none the wiser. And as authorities traced back the details, they uncovered a plot so ingenious, so precise, that it rivaled even the most elaborate Hollywood heist films. The ingenious plan: in early 2005, a group of criminals devised a strategy that would allow them to enter the bank vault without stepping foot inside the bank itself, at least not in the way one would expect. The plan involved months of preparation, careful engineering, and a level of patience that is rarely seen in criminal enterprises. To begin their heist, the thieves rented a property 2 blocks away from the Banco Central building, presenting themselves as an innocent landscaping company. Their cover was perfect. Over the next few months, workers could be seen moving in and out of the property, transporting equipment, bringing in materials, and digging into the ground. On the surface, everything seemed legitimate. But below the ground, something far more elaborate was taking place. Beneath the rented property, the criminals began digging an underground tunnel, one that stretched approximately 78 meters to 5-6 feet towards the bank. The tunnel was no crude, makeshift burrow. It was an engineering marvel, reinforced with wood and plastic, complete with lighting and air ventilation. It was built with a precision that suggested professional planning. The tunnel was constructed with a slight incline to counteract the underground water levels, ensuring it wouldn't flood. For months, the criminals worked in secrecy, digging ever closer to their prize, the vault of Banco Central. The moment of execution lay after months of excavation. The criminals reached their target, the reinforced vault of the bank, which contained stacks of untraceable cash. But breaking into the vault itself was yet another challenge. The bank's vault was built to withstand extreme force and protect against burglary, yet the thieves had prepared meticulously. Using specialized tools, they penetrated the vault's reinforced concrete floor, creating an opening just wide enough to slip through. They didn't rush, they worked with patience, ensuring the job was done cleanly and without drawing attention. Between Friday, August 5th, and Sunday, August 7th, the thieves infiltrated the vault, meticulously removing stacks of money. Given the staggering amount, they stole roughly 3.5 tons of physical cash. It's estimated that multiple trips were required to move it all through the tunnel. Yet, they did so without setting off any alarms, without alerting any security personnel, and without leaving behind clear forensic evidence. By the time employees arrived at the bank on Monday morning, the vault had been emptied, and the criminals were long gone. The crime had been executed to near perfection, but that was just the beginning of the mystery. A frantic investigation. Investigators arrived at the scene. They were dumbfounded. There were no security breaches from the outside, no broken doors, no suspicious activity on surveillance footage. It wasn't until authorities examined the vault floor that they discovered the hole, an almost surgical cut into the concrete foundation. Following the tunnel, they traced it back to the rented house, where they found dirt, tools, and evidence of months of digging. But of the criminals themselves, no sign. Authorities launched an intensive manhunt to track down those responsible. Given the scale of the crime, it was clear that this was no small-time operation. This required significant financial resources, expertise, and careful planning. The scale of the tunnel's construction alone suggested that the team consisted of skilled engineers and laborers. What happened to the money, despite extensive investigations. Only a portion of the money was ever recovered. Over the following months, police made multiple arrests, but many of those involved in the crime either disappeared or were found dead under mysterious circumstances. One key suspect, Antonio Joseph Alves dos Reis, was identified as one of the masterminds, but even his capture did not reveal the full extent of what had happened to the stolen millions. Some theories suggest that much of the money was funneled into criminal enterprises, while other speculation points to offshore accounts. Regardless of where it ended up, the bulk of the cash vanished without a trace. What made this case even more puzzling was that, despite arrests, no one could definitively explain every step of the crime. The tunnel's precision, the secrecy of the operation, and the flawless execution still left authorities grasping for answers. A crime that redefined bank security. Banco Central heist sent shockwaves through the banking world. If a robbery of this magnitude could take place without a single alarm being tripped, without a gun being drawn, and without even an eyewitness, what did that mean for the security of financial institutions around the world? The robbery forced banks to reconsider their vulnerabilities, increasing surveillance and reinforcing underground security measures. Even today, nearly 2 decades later, the Banco Central robbery remains one of the greatest unsolved mysteries in criminal history. Though some of the criminals were caught, many of their secrets died with them. How did they ensure absolute secrecy? How did they dispose of the stolen cash without leaving a trace? Did they have inside help? These questions may never be fully answered. What we do know is that the Banco Central heist was more than just a robbery. It was a masterclass in planning, patience, and execution. And despite the arrests that followed, the full truth of how it happened remains an enigma to this day.